Hello everyone, it's Amy, and welcome to our first week of crafting with Build Your Stash and Craft, where each week we spend $7.50 to supply ourselves with the items we need to make a new craft, and then we will continue to build up what we have so we can make more and more things. And as we go through, if we don't spend the whole $7.50, we will save it so that we can save up for larger items that we'll need in the future. So the first thing I have right here in front of me is the things that I already showed you, things that you could save. There's maybe a few extras, but I did go ahead and got some extra tissue paper, and I think that this, I did save this Kleenex box because this is gorgeous to cut things out of for your crafting. And then I've got the same magazines. I did get a couple of cereal boxes because those come in very handy. And then pretty much I have everything that I showed you originally that you could set aside to use for your crafting over the Christmas season. So I am just going to take all of these things, and the thing is that we do need to corral as we're getting these things collected. And so I just wanted to show you, I kept that cereal box. Here's another one that I kept. And the reason that I like these is because they make really nice containers to hold your things in. So like papers and that type of thing, anything that's tall and it's going to stand up. Now granted, you will need to prop this up. You know, it's not going to stand up on its own, but I'll usually make 2 or 3, and on one end I might have some books sitting, or maybe a box of something sitting there just to hold it up. But these are great because then you can stand up your items in there. It doesn't hold so much that it I don't know how I want to say that, but normally what I do too is I separate things. I put magazines in one, I put paper in another, and that type of thing, cardboard in another, so that I have a little area just to corral each one of those things. So I just kind of wanted to show you how I do those because that's a great way to start out. It's just like the things that you get at you can get them at the craft store, the office supply store, but you know, they're just about that wide and they're open on the front that you just slide your papers or books into. And so I have that to keep all of those things together. And then I have the 5 things that we bought for this, or the things that we bought for this week to cover our $7.50. So we have a pair of scissors, and we have a dictionary. That was $1. That was $2. We counted this as $1. This is some fabric and some ribbon. So that was $3. And then we had $4 for our markers, $5 for tacky glue, $6 for a bottle of paint, and then $1.50, so $7.50 for the bed skirt that we bought, and I've already separated. So those are the things we're going to use this week to make something, and also to make more supplies for our craft stash. So I've already used them because I try and get things a little bit prepared ahead of time, especially since, you know, if it's got drying time. But I'm going to keep this because this actually, I'm going to use this today. Alrighty, so to start with, what are we going to do? We are going to dye some fabric because we have all that white fabric, but you know, we don't want everything to be white. So these are fabrics I've already dyed. Here's the colored fabrics. So we have this little piece, and this is green and yellow together, and purple and blue, and red and orange, and then a little bit more of a solid one. And cleaning up after those, then you get even some more colored fabric. So, and I can't tell, it doesn't look like it's showing up very bright in here. They are lighter colors, but they're not super light. They are all very colored. They're not like super pastel or anything. So I'm not sure exactly how that's showing up, but hopefully you're getting to see the color there. So in order to make these colors, well, let me show you just, oh, and then also I have some string. As I ripped apart the bed skirt, I tore off strips of it, And then after you tear off the strip, then you want to get all those threads off of there. So you pull them all off and you throw them away. Don't throw them away. Just pull them all off and throw them into a pile. Because then once you pile them up, you can use them to pick up some color. And if you see people like put gauze or different things like that in their projects behind things, it just really is nice. So this one I put the purple and blue on here and the red and the orange on here. And it's mostly red and orange because I didn't have a lot of purple and blue left on my plastic after I did it. But that makes something good to put in your mixed media projects. Just gives it a little depth. So here is some in brown. And the brown came from paint. And so what I did with the paint is, now this one right here is much softer. This is soft because after I painted this fabric, I rinsed it off. Now I didn't specifically paint them like with a brush or anything. Now this is a little stiffer because after I put the paint on it, I did not rinse it off. I just set it aside to dry. So I have some pieces of brown. And so just to kind of show you what paint looks like, that's what paint looks like if you use paint on your colors, and that's water paint. So let's just set that aside. And, excuse me, I'll show you the way I did that. I'm going to grab myself a paper towel. We're also going to be using a spray bottle today of some sort. This is a hairspray bottle. I just want to get my paper towel a little bit wet before I start this. So I just put some paint in here and put a little bit of water in there. Probably twice as much water as paint. And then all you do is you just take a piece of your fabric, however much you want to dye, and just stick it in there. Mix it around. Now you can let it sit in there for it to maybe soak up a little bit more color. I normally really don't. If you're doing something like coffee or tea dyed, because you could take your extra coffee in the morning, dump it out of the pot, dump it into a bowl, and throw some fabric in there. You'll get some really nice coffee stained fabric. But then it just comes out like that. Set it on a plastic bag somewhere and let it dry. If you want to have it to be softer, then go ahead and rinse it off before you set it aside. It will lighten up some when you rinse it, but it takes that acrylic out of it kind of so that it's not as stiff. So that is how you do painty fabric. And, you know, you can do your string that way. You can do anything that you have that way. If you have some paper, you can just kind of smear it on your paper to give your paper color. And I'm just trying to figure out where I'm going to sit this. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang it right over top of that bowl. Okay. And then just get that off of my hands. And again, when I said you could just wipe it on paper, see, you can color your paper that way. Not necessarily, but, well, paper towels are kind of cool too. If you get color on your paper towels, sometimes they're really fun to put in as a background in a piece of mixed media art or on the back of a card behind your focal point. So now I'm going to show you how to make, I call this watercolor. And we're going to use our washable markers and 2 pieces of plastic. You can use a hard piece of acetate. You can use whatever it is. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to use one and then fold it over. You need 2 pieces of plastic so that you can kind of smush your color after you've put it on there. So you're just going to take, I like to do 2 colors. You don't have to do that. To me, it gives your color just a little more depth. If you look at this one here, you know, you can see the blue, you can see the purple. It does all kind of blend, and yet you get the separate colors too. So I just like to do that because I think that's more interest. And you're just going to scribble on a piece of plastic, piece of acetate, a plastic file folder, you know, the plastic kind. Anything that's plastic is just fine. So you're just going to, and like right now I'm scribbling right on top of one color and another. Usually I kind of do some blue and then go around it and do some purple. So I'm not going right over top of it, but wasn't thinking so. Then you're just going to spray some water on it. not a ton. If you don't have a spray bottle, just flick some water with your fingers out of a bowl of water, and then you're just going to smush it. Smush it. Open it back up again. And the reason that you're doing that is so you don't get those lines from where you put the color on there. I'm going to take a piece of our fabric here. I'm just going to take a smaller piece. And then I'm just going to set it on there like that. I'm going to fold this back over again and just press it on there. Just like that. Open it up and see what we've got. And this is what we've got so far. Now, if you say, oh, I want a little more color, then you just go back in there, pick up the color that's still there. And if that's still not enough color, then you just scribble again with your markers, spray some water on it, and do it all over again. I'm just going to kind of pick up the different colors here. Now, when you use something that you're going to reuse, like I'm going to reuse this bag for another color, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to spray this, have a little piece of fabric or paper or anything else. For me, I use fabric for this because basically we want to wash this off. So I'm just going to kind of spray it. I don't want this purple and blue to mix with my next colors because I don't want a muddy color. So you're just going to spray it and then pick that color up off of there because it may not have looked like there was much there. But if you look at this when we're done, you'll see there was quite a bit more color there than it originally looked like. And so that gives you more of a solid color when you pick it up like this with the water on it. And just kind of keep moving your fabric around. Grab those white spots. There we go. And then I would either get another piece of fabric or wipe it with a paper towel. But see, now we have this solid, more solid purplish blue. And then we have the one that has some texture to it. And then just set those aside to dry. And go ahead and we'll do one more color. We'll do the red and orange. I'm just going to get that extra off of there. There's not a lot left now since we took it off with the fabric, but we want to get that off of there so that we don't mix. Some colors make mud, and sometimes you might want mud. I don't mind brown, so sometimes it doesn't bother me. And also when you're putting your two colors together, make it sure it's two colors that are not going to make mud if you want a colorful piece. So I'm going to go on one half like this. And then I was saying, like I normally do it, is I kind of go between then. Just so I'm not getting the red all over my orange marker. And if you do get the other color on your marker, just go ahead and wipe that off before you put your marker away. Doing a little bit more color on here. And put a little bit more red too. And it also depends on how much you're doing, actually. I'm putting quite a bit on here for the smaller pieces that I'm doing, so I really didn't need that much. So then we'll just give that a spray of water. And grab a piece of fabric. Whoops, we don't want the fabric yet. We're going to go ahead and squish this down. And I'm ignoring that. It's very hard for me to do that. There we go. And then we'll just take our piece of fabric, put it right on there, and let it soak up our color. I'm going to come over here and grab some of this over here. And see, you get just really neat different textures by doing it this way. And you wind up with a piece of fabric that even you can't replicate, but nobody else is going to have one just like yours because it's your own hand-dyed fabric. And these do not take a real long time to dry because you're really not putting a whole ton of water on it. So there we go. I think that looks really cool. So set that aside to dry. Figure out where. We'll hang it right there. Okay. And then we'll pick that color up with another piece of fabric so that we don't waste it. And that is one of the biggest things. You want to just make sure that you, just get a little piece of fabric here, that you think about what you're throwing away as you're crafting. You know, it's like, is that something that I can, like I could just wipe this off with a paper towel or something and throw that paper towel away, but you know, that's a lot of color there that we could use to dye this next piece of fabric. And clean it up at the same time. So now we'll have another piece of fabric that we can play with. So there we go. Now we've got that. Now I had one that when I did the pickup color, which one was it? It was the pink too. Okay, so I had picked up the red and the orange, and then I had a lot of extra left over. So what I did was I did the blue one next. After I had picked up most of the blue, there was still some left, and so I took the piece that had the pink here with a lot of white on it, and I'm not a huge white fan, and so then I just took that and I just held it where the white was and just, you know, finished cleaning things off with those areas, and so then I got the purple on the edges like that. So and you could even do that on purpose. Just pick up some of the red with something, set it aside, and then use a different one to pick up some of the red maybe around the edges or whatever. So that's how you can use that fabric. You don't have a bunch of colors, but actually now you do. And that's why we kept our plastic bags. I do that a lot. I do it with paper too. It's great for coloring paper. And so then I thought, well, what are we going to do with what we have this week? And I thought that we would put together a bookmark. So I thought maybe, let's see, what are we going to use? I really like this one, and it is just about dry. I think we're going to work with this one right here. So I want a nice long bookmark. I'm going to fold it over a little bit at the top to make it a little more sturdy. And I think that that probably is a good length. So I'm going to go ahead and use the whole thing and maybe use a little bit of the ribbon out of our pack here. Now also, if you weren't able to get a pack of ribbon and fabric, because you know this is from the resale store, so but maybe you just got some white ribbon, you could take that white ribbon and you can dye it the same way. So but I think that we'll just use this at the top of our bookmark. So I'm going to use 2 pieces there, and I'm going to maybe put a piece of cardboard in here. I don't want to use that because I think the blue will show through, because that's kind of a thin fabric. So I have a piece of cardboard here off of the back of a pad of paper. I don't think I have a pad of paper in my house that actually has a back on it. So, you know, I always think, you know, I'll wait till it's gone, and then I'll take that back off there. But I never wait till it's gone. I always just take the back off of it because I need it for something, you know. So there we go. I'm going to make that just a little bit thinner than that, about as wide as the fabric. And I'm just going to glue that on there. And that will just give us a nice solid top to hang some things off of that can stick out of the book and be more solid than just plain old fabric. Put that there. We're plenty long enough, so I have plenty of room to fold that over. I'm going to fold that over just like that. And then maybe it's really crooked, so maybe I want to just straighten it up a little bit. Yeah, it's not too bad. Always really bad about straight lines. There we go. So now we have the top of our bookmark. And we'll just kind of decide what we want to do. I wanted to show you another thing. I don't know what you want to call it. I'll call it glue paint. So what I'm thinking here is what did I do with? Here we go. So I have done this one, an orchid out of our dictionary, and I painted it pink. And I'm just going to kind of round the edges a little bit because I don't like the square edges on here. And I'm going to show you how to do this. It's kind of a see-through type paint and a nice light color. I did not want to color this. I could have just colored it with my marker, but I didn't want to color it with the marker because that would have been so much darker, and I just didn't want super dark. So I have that pretty little orchid there that can go on there. And then I think I want a piece of pink fabric behind it. No, I want some of the string behind it. Let me see where I tossed that to. I tend to toss things around. So I'm going to take a little bit of this string. It's got some purple and some pink in it. I'm just going to cut a piece of it off. There we go. And I think that I'm going to take these like that, maybe put an angle on this one. I'm just going to fold it in half. My glue is very, very thick. We'll have to make a glue holder for it. But I'm tempted to put just a touch of water in there to thin it out a little bit. Tacky glue is normally really thick. This one just almost felt a little extra thick. So I'm going to set my orchid up here and my string. Move those things out of the way. So I just want, I'm going to put that one up there like that. I'm going to fold that one in half. I want the top to be very kind of fluffy, maybe. I'll put that one over there and put that one over there. And then I'm going to put my scissors on there for a minute just to hold that down while I show you how to make that glue paint. So all you do, let's see, let's do it in blue. So I'm just going to scribble a little blue on a piece of acetate. Now the reason that I kept, okay, this was not a good idea right there. I should have washed that off first because there is glue on there right now. I do not want that glue on my pen, so I am going to make sure that I wipe that off. It's kind of a waste of ink, but I do not want that glue on my pen. So I'm going to come up here where there isn't any and scribble some color. And then give it just a little tiny bit of water. Come up here and let it run down there. We need a piece of cardboard. This is just a little piece of cardboard I cut actually off the bottom of the scissor thing. Get that all down there to pick up that color. Okay, and now it has color, and you could stick that on a piece of paper. It would soak in. But what I do is just put 1 drop of glue, because the glue will make it kind of shiny. And I don't know if you can see this or not, especially since I cut the paper off. But I don't know if you can see how that flower is shiny. That is not the paper. That's only the flower. And that shine is coming from the glue. So you just take and you mix your glue, your water, and your color. And then you can just paint it on whatever you want to paint it on. Now this does make it very pastel-y. This works with the watercolors. It does not work with permanent marker. Put that there for a second and find a quick picture in our dictionary that we might want to be blue. Let's see. I wonder if it has a picture of the moon. That would be kind of cool blue. I normally don't do that. I normally don't look like for a specific thing, but nope, no picture of the moon. I thought they would. Here, we'll use this right here. So then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it, because I don't have a paintbrush, I'm going to use the back of my stir stick here. Just put it on there. And then when that glue dries, it will be shiny. If you find that it's a little too thick in one place, just let it sit for a few minutes, because your paper kind of wrinkles, and so it kind of like gathers sometimes in a spot that the wrinkle is lower than the rest of the paper. So just go ahead and put it on there, and then just kind of watch it. And if you say, well, you know, like there's a lot of it kind of pulled up right there, after you let it sit for just a little bit, then you just go in and move it a little bit. Until it's dry. But there we go. Now we'll have something to put on another project. But that's just a really fun way to get some color. It's shiny color. And since we don't have paint, we can make all of the colors of our marker into a pastel type of glue paint, which will stick to whatever you're painting it on, and will give it a little bit of shine. So there, we've got that there. So now I want to put a little bit more glue. And then put our string on there. Kind of fluff it a little bit. Give it a little bit of dimension. I'm going to kind of bring the ends in towards the middle, where we're going to have the flower, so that the ends are covered up with these little round bits like this. We're going to leave those stick up there. And then you can always adjust it too as it's drying. You go in and adjust it to look the way that you want it to look. I want a little bit up there. I want to bring that one in like that a little bit. And then we're just going to take our picture out of our dictionary to have a little focal point. And there we go. Now, that makes for a nice bookmark. I think that looks cute. It's plenty long enough to be in our book. The bottom is a little bit white, so I can do one of two things. If I don't like it, I can cut it off. I can color it with a little bit more of the red watercolor, or I can leave it like it is. And at this point in time, I'm going to leave it just like that. But I think that that looks really cute. And we didn't hardly use anything to do that. So that is today's project. I hope that you enjoyed it. And, you know, don't forget, you can make the water paint. You can make so many different colors, whether you like the bright colors or whether you like the dark colors. You can make all of these different things with just the little bit that we started with today. And we made a bookmark with it, but you can use it to make little embellishments. You know, you could have made this just very small, like that right there. And if you had a paper clip, you could put it on a paper clip. If you don't have a paper clip, we will be getting them next week. And so you could make paper clips instead of this type of a bookmark. You could make a bookmark with a paper clip on it, or something to go in a journal, or just a little embellishment like this that you only made it just a certain size and put it into a piece of mixed media art. So don't forget, you've got the glue color too, which gives you a little bit of shine on things that are very flat in color. So that is today's project. Let's get down here where you can see it. And for next week we are going to need, okay, so you know what I did for next week? I only spent $5 for next week. So, because I'm used to spending $5 from the old series. Alrighty, so we're going to spend $5 next week. We're going to put, because we're spending $5, we're going to put $2.50 in the bank. So, I got some cotton from the Dollar Tree. It's a very thin, kind of like what you would call the butcher's twine or whatever, but just a nice thin one. I'm not thinking, you know, for what we're going to use it for, you want something that's a little bit thin. I wanted something with a little color, so I got this instead of just plain old string. So we'll need some cotton, and we will need, all of these things came from the Dollar Tree, a pair of pliers, and a pack of skewers, clear fingernail polish, and some paper clips. So the large paper clips or the small paper clips, it doesn't matter. But personally, I would get just the wire ones. The ones that have the coating, the plastic coating on them, a lot of times they don't work for different things. So to start out with, I'd start with silver, and then you can always get some colored ones later on. So this is what we are going to need for next week. We've spent $5 instead of $7.50 because my Dollar Tree is still $1. So, and I don't know exactly when they're all going to start changing, but I did hear that one of them has changed already. So $5, we will put $2.50 in our bank. I do keep track of that because eventually we will buy things like paper cutters and scoreboards and heat guns. So, and we have to save for those things. So that's what we do when we don't spend our whole $7.50. So thank you very much. I do hope that you enjoyed today's project. I hope that you have fun playing with this and making yourself lots of different colored fabric and painted fabric and, you know, just getting yourself some stuff. You know, yes, you can make something with it, but you can also just spend your creative time creating your own fabric. You don't have to, once you create this, you don't have to do something with it right away. Do it up. And then you have it available for the next time you're working on a project and you need a piece of colored fabric. You don't have to then go try and dye some fabric. Sometimes you will because you'll want to make it a specific color. But it's just fun to do these things and to have some of them ready. Keep some of your fabric white, make some of your fabric colored, and then you're set to go no matter what it is that you want to do. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate you. And I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.